Hey, what's up, you guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the casino industry. So if you're thinking about getting into the industry, stay tuned. Okay, so let's start with the pros first. Pro number one, the money. The money is really good for a job that doesn't require you to have many skills. I make as much as most people my age. I make as much as a teacher makes when you break it down into an hourly rate. I make anywhere from $20 to $30 an hour, depending on the day. We have what we call a toke rate, which is basically the tips that we get from players, and they divide it up equally amongst everyone. We share the tips. I work at a really good casino. So when you work at a good casino, a big casino, one of the major casinos, your pay is going to be more. If you work at a little shitty riverboat, your pay might be $10, $15 an hour. So keep that in mind. So like that. I was lucky I managed to get into a good casino right off the bat. But usually it works that you work at the shitty casinos where you make 10 to 15 and then you work your way up to the higher paying casinos. That's how it works in Atlantic City, and that's how it works in Vegas. Okay, so another pro is we get a break every hour and a half. Now in the casino industry, we need it. I know everybody's thinking, you get a break every hour and a half? That's crazy. Everybody else, we only get any other customer service or whatever type of job, we only get like a 30-minute break for the whole shift. Well, yes, we get a break every hour and a half, but we earn it because you have to remember, we're doing math problems and we're dealing with drunk people all the time. So we definitely need our breaks. Every hour and a half, we get a 30-minute break, and we need it. Because, first of all, dealing, especially if you do blackjack, which is mostly what I do, dealing, there's lots of like movements and it's very high energy. You're supposed to be very high energy. You're supposed to keep the players energized, and that takes a lot out of you. I mean, if you want to make money, I mean, you can be a lazy, slouchy dealer with poor customer service skills and have a negative attitude and low energy, but you're not going to get very good tips. If you want to get tipped well, you got to have high energy, and you got to be nice, and you got to be bubbly, even when the players treat you like shit. And yes, the players will treat you like shit. Many of them do. It happens all the time. We're basically stuck with assholes. Also, other casinos might do it differently. Some casinos do an hour and 20. You're on the table for an hour and 20 minutes. If it's not very busy, you can go home early usually. Most casinos have what they call an early out list. If it's a slow night, they'll let you go early. So that's kind of a cool thing about the job as well. Let's get into the cons of it. This is going to be the biggest con of them all. You have to deal with fucking gambling addicts. Oh God. They're the worst. I'm sorry, but gambling addicts are the worst. I know people are going to be like, you shouldn't talk about them because it's a disease, blah, blah, blah. But no. Gambling addicts are very aggressive, very mean. And that's the thing about it. Because many of the assholes, the gambling addicts, are playing so much money, the casino will let you get verbally abused to a certain extent. Many casinos have a zero tolerance policy. So if you're rude to a customer once, even if they're being shit assholes to you, you can get fired instantly just for being rude to one customer. And this isn't just for the gambling addicts, but many of the players, they just whine and whine and whine and whine and whine so much. It's all they do is whine. It's when they're losing, they're whining. And they blame you for it. Because they think you have control of the cards, and I have to tell them, I don't have control of the cards. They're just like, Joshua, we're losing. Well, I'm like, I never say it, but I'm thinking, well, why don't you just fucking go home if you're fucking losing? We're losing, Joshua, change it. I can't. It drives me fucking nuts. And most dealers, we hate it. It drives us nuts, all of that whining. It really starts to drain you. And then, well, most dealers, let's be honest about it, most dealers hate working at the casino. We do, because it's a very draining job. You got to work with very draining, whining, negative people who are rude, who are really drunk, who can get away with a lot of stuff if they're playing a lot of money. One guy I know got a drink thrown in his face. I've seen that. Also, well, that guy got kicked out. The guy who threw the drink in his face, he got kicked out. I've also seen, well, no, I didn't see this, but I also know a supervisor, one of the players, one of the rich players, and they didn't kick him out, took a chip and threw it at her face. Like, literally hit her in the face with a chip. They kicked him out for that one night, and he was back in the casino, like, the next day. So, that's pretty fucked up. Well, maybe not the next day, but he was back at the casino pretty soon afterwards. That's what I'm telling you. It's like you never know what's going to happen. And the players, like I said, they blame you. I get players who they just look at me like angrily, like they're losing, and they don't have anybody to take it out on. They're not going to look at themselves. They're not going to blame themselves. They look at you. They're like, you're dealing me the cards. It is your fault that I'm losing. I'm like, I don't have anything to do with it. And they get so upset and they start kicking the tables and hitting chairs and just acting like complete fucking idiots and children. And they're rude. And that happens quite often. I know it might seem like I'm exaggerating, but I would say about 50% of the time you're going to have rude players and 50% of the time you're going to have really cool players. And about 90% of the time you're going to have whiny players. Because even the cool players whine a lot. Sometimes, but I just smile and go, ha, ha, you know. 6 more months, and I'll be able to quit this job, and I'll be making really good money. This is a little segue, but I'm actually getting into the insurance business, and I love it. I feel like I'm getting to actually help people, and I feel like people treat me better, and I can grow, and I can set my own schedule, and it's just. I'm really just been focusing right now on getting my insurance business off the ground so I can finally leave my job once and for all, so I can finally be free so I won't have to deal with people like this. Also, remember I said that there's an early out list? Where also, lots of times if it's really busy, you can get stuck on a table for longer than 8 hours. Which means that you might do, instead of an 8-hour shift, we usually do 8-hour shifts, you might end up doing a 10-hour shift. If there's nobody to take you out, your ass is stuck on that table. So you can't leave basically for 10 hours. It's happened to me. It doesn't happen often. It hasn't happened to me often because I'm smart about the way I work the EO list. But it does happen to a lot of dealers often where they end up working like 9-hour shifts and stuff. And it's exhausting. I know you think, 9-hour shift, that's not a big deal. But yeah, a 9-hour, it's hard enough just to work 8 hours. It's hard enough to work at that job for 8 hours with people whining all the time. Just people think that being a dealer is an easy job. But it's really not. People are draining. People can be fucking assholes. And I don't understand why they're fucking assholes. My philosophy is, I be nice to you, you be nice to me. Oh my god, my philosophy is, you be nice to me, I'll be great to you, you know, because like I said, I like customer service. I like serving people. I don't mind it, but we have to mutually respect each other, you know. But if you're fucking mean to me, you go and get hit by a bus, I wouldn't care. I'd just be like, oh, that person got hit by a bus. What's for breakfast? Also, another thing about the job is, well, this isn't really a con, but you have to be very, very focused. You have to keep very, very focused. You got a lot of stuff going on at your table. And we have to deal cards. There's this thing called game protection. So when people deal cards, we have to use a certain technique when we deal. It's not like in movies. In movies, whenever they get card dealers, they just throw the cards out to the players and that's it. In the real casino industry, it doesn't work like that. We have to pick up the checks, or not checks, well, they're really called checks, but we have to pick up the chips with certain hands, and we have to pay things with certain hands, and we have to move our bodies in a certain way to keep our game protected, and we have to be aware of how much money is on the table. Basically, at all times, we have to be aware of which players have what chips and such. We have to be focused, and we have to also be constantly doing small math equations. So you have to be focused, you know, because you can easily make a mistake, and if you make a mistake, A lot of times it's not a big deal because I don't really make big mistakes, but sometimes you can make a really big mistake, and if you make a really big mistake that costs the casino a lot of money, you will probably get a final written notice, if not fired. Usually a final written notice. You got to be very, very careful because I've seen so many people get fired for little things because they weren't focused. Now, this is kind of a pro and a con. Usually, where I work and a lot of other casinos, we share tips. First, I thought this was really good because I was like, okay, if I have a bad night, then, you know, everybody else, they'll kind of like make up the difference, you know. But now I realize that we don't reach our full potential in tips because some dealers are really, really shitty dealers, and they have really bad, some dealers have really bad customer service skills, and they don't get tipped well, and they're shitty with the players. Me and then a few other dealers, we're bringing in the tips, and then we got people riding off our coattails, and that's kind of annoying. And last but not least, probably one of the worst things that can happen is you can get stuck dealing the same game for weeks. Dealing the same game for weeks on end, it gets boring. It's the same people with the same old crackhead gambling addicts, which many of, and I'm telling you, they really act like crackheads too. The gambling guy, I mean, they come, they just be like, deal, come. And then they throw the money on the table, and you would think that they were literally on crack. And I'm pretty sure some of them actually are. I would say, if you are a student and you need a night job and you want to make good money, this would be a great job for you. But do not plan on making a career out of being a dealer at a casino. Maybe a supervisor, but not a dealer at a casino. Because I'm telling you, the dealers that I see who've been working at this casino at all casinos for like 20 years, 30 years, they're dead. I mean, they're just dead inside. They die inside. The negativity finally gets to them. It's a job that you can easily get stuck in because the money's good, so you're comfortable, but you hate it, but you're comfortable, but you don't have the energy to like try something else to get yourself out of there, so you get stuck. And I see people get stuck there for 20 years and basically look how they feel on the inside. I can see it. They're just shriveled up like raisins. They're just like, But that's the thing. You have to use your negative experiences to propel you into the positive experiences. In that sense, this job has been a blessing because it's taught me to be more patient with people. It's taught me to have a thicker skin. It's taught me that there's some really psychotic people out there and you really have to be careful. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. See y'all. Bye.